All right. Welcome back, everybody. We are here for the second episode of our weekly Q&A show. My name is Mac, and I'm here today with our CTO, Elwa. We have a really interesting 30-minute conversation to share with you today. Very, very excited to get your participation and your questions as well. The main subject we want to be covering today is the Mach 1 controller. The reason we're talking about the Mach 1 controller is because next week on Wednesday, we are officially releasing the Phantom V3, Phantom 2023, a scooter that's been in the making for how long now? A year and
A bit more, I think 2 years.
2 years. Yeah, it's crazy to think. If you actually look on our YouTube channel, there's probably a video from about a year ago of me and Elwa at our warehouse location where Elwa was doing a very rough. No, that would have been 2 years ago, I think. Even
I think
no,
it's 2 years
I think
ago.
it's
Yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah, so 2 years ago, the first prototype of the controller that Elwa was tinkering with at the time was kind of planted inside of the Phantom, and back then I think we were mostly dreaming about what the controller could do one day. So it's pretty crazy to be here today, knowing that the Phantom V3 is launching next week. So we'll get into sort of what makes it a super scooter and why it's so special to us. And Elwa can share a bit more about the development process behind the controller, as well as ultimately, what does the controller allow you to do at the end of the day, right? That's kind of what it comes down to. So as a rider, why should you care? And that's something that we want to get into as well. So feel free to pop in with questions and comments at any point. We're always happy to take your questions. But why don't we get started with a quick question? Why did you bother to make a controller?
Still wondering that myself. No, yeah. So where it started with the Apollo Phantom, the V1, the controller, and back then it was the regular aluminum box that you can see in pretty much every scooter. It's usually you have a controller for the front, a controller for the rear. They are doing the same thing. It's just the rear. This is what usually power up the display and all the functions. And I always had my mindset of electric skateboard. And in electric skateboard, first of all, you have one controller for both motors, and you also have region brake. It's all started from the region brake. And you referred to the video of us installing this controller. This is the first one that we had in that video that Match mentioned. We this one it was around a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and we had the region with this one, which was fantastic. But after that, we started making a long list of okay, we want to connect a GPS to it, or we want like all the crazy light that you see on the Pro. We want wireless charging. We want the new display that we're gonna reveal soon. So the list just kept getting longer and longer. So we had to go back to the drawing board and to really make the next iteration of the controller, which looked like this. This is the new one. So the old one here, the new one here. So yeah,
and maybe just for context, right? Because you kind of just brushed over it. You were like, oh, it only had the region brake, right? But exactly, no big deal. But about how many controllers did we burn trying to get just the region brake to work?
That's what I was gonna say. It started with the VSC controller.
That's right, yeah.
The VSC, which the original Ludo, the OG. This one was VSC is I don't know what it stands for, but we were taking controllers from electric skateboard from a company here in Montreal called Lacroix, and we are configuring the motors to the specific motors on the unit to that controller, and we were getting such a smooth response out of it. First of all, for acceleration, and that's like Electric Scooter Guide, the release video, and we like smashed so many records with the first one.
Yeah, I think there's a video of the original Apollo Pro, maybe like 3 years ago, with the Ludo controller in there, right? So if anyone's curious, you can check it out on the ESG's channel.
And the old Apollo Pro, which was OEM, it was a 010X, but that was really our secret sauce that we were putting in it. And at the time, well, it was really clear. As soon as we tried it, we were like, okay, we need to do something with this controller because of the regen, but because just how smooth it was. And the big deal, like why just like not taking this controller and putting it in every scooter, right? That's the question. We had to configure. I had to configure all the controller to the individual unit every time. So it was taking maybe an hour to configure like
per scooter.
Per scooter, yeah. Yes. And that's why we were charging $1,000 for it, which was super expensive, but 100% worth it in my opinion. I had to configure all of them and also cut all the wires to match them. Like because the controller that we were buying from that company, Lacroix, it was not adapted to the to that hardware. So all the connectors you had to like solder them. And it was such a pain. So that's why we started making our own controller. We're like, okay, we want a controller that's going to be smart, that you can do just a motor detection, as we call it, that's going to read the motor itself and calibrate to it, and all the connectors going to be plug and play for what they already have on all the scooters. So that's what we did. And so we passed from VSC to with Lacroix to like our own after that. I called it the Tornado. It had a little fan inside. It was beautiful. And then we went to something more custom like this, and we actually burned more controllers with those by testing. And there's always something wrong when you try prototypes. So I remember we burned maybe 5 of them burned, that they were just like kaput, but one of them really exploded. And we decided to add fuse after that on the battery pack and the controller, so that never happened again.
It went from being a really exciting project to being like another controller burned, another version burned, and at one point I think we started losing hope.
Because it's so long. Every time you make one prototype, and keep in mind, like, they don't have all the mold ready for like those fancy casing or even like the PCB that you usually have inside. They need to custom make PCB. They need to CNC those case, meaning, with the machine drilling, it's super expensive, super long. Every time it's maybe a month, 2 months of delay. So yeah, it's when it just goes up in smoke in front of you, you
6
cry.
times.
Yeah, 6 times. You cry, and then you get back to the store. And yeah, so in the video that we posted in the warehouse that we do the walk through that version, it was pretty much ready. There was a couple of logic bug with the app and things like that, but the controller was ready. We really took that whole time to test it. We really wanted something super solid, because you can imagine, like, launching a new model is like something hardware wise, but usually all the controllers, electronics are the same. There's one company making them, and they're gonna give you something. But for something like I just explained, that we introduce regen, that we introduce the motor detection for every unit, it need to be tested so much. And on top of that, we realized that it was optimal for the controller to stick outside of the body to cool with the wind. And that's one of the reasons why on this one, the first one, the fins are on this side, horizontal, I guess. And because the controller was like this before, and now it's like this.
And this one was inside the scooter.
This one was inside the scooter, but even if I was putting it outside of the scooter, sorry, it's like this. If I put it outside of the scooter like this, the wind is not really entering the fins, because it's going like this. This is the front of the scooter, the back. So it's really more for design than actually cooling. Compared to this one, now it's like this, and the wind passed through it and it's cooling it. But you can imagine, you cannot just drill a hole in the deck and put this like sticking out. You need to build a whole structure around it to seal it, to make sure that the deck is also just as strong as it was before. So that's what took so much time to do.
And it's officially patented. So if any competitors are watching this, sorry.
Sorry, Melvin.
Sorry, Melvin.
It's patented. So the whole the design is patented, and this function as well, of sticking out outside of the body, is patented.
Yeah, and it's, so it kind of goes back to the question of obviously the ride quality is amazing, right? With this, and I think that's sort of what kept us going throughout the ups and downs of developing a controller. It's every time you actually got onto one of these scooters, you realize it's a completely different experience. And I remember when you made me try a Phantom V2 with its original kind of stock controller, and then you made me try the V3, you wouldn't believe that it's the same product, right? And another anecdote that was shared was from Mark Bebo. So shout out to Mark Bebo, who said, he felt so safe on that scooter. He started letting his kids ride it. He started letting his wife ride it. And all of a sudden, this beast of a scooter that can go up to 60 kilometers an hour is a beast you can tame. It's like the equivalent of a wild horse versus a horse that is exactly what you want it to do when you steer it. So it's pretty magical, and I would say it's the kind of bigger reason behind a lot of this the struggle, honestly, the challenge, the work that was put into it, is that we believe in the future where scooters are not defined by their battery sizes and motor sizes, and much more by what they enable you to do from an experience perspective. And Eloi concluded pretty quickly after being at Apollo for 2 years that we can only get so far with off-the-shelf components. And I guess in retrospect, you dove right into the deep end with a controller, right? Could have started with tires, something easier, but no. we did the controller instead. So really, now walk us through what does the Phantom benefit from by having this controller?
I guess for people that are curious about it, we started selling the V2.5, the V3 upgrade kit, so people with the V1 and V2 can upgrade it. There's so many comments online on videos and Facebook that people describe just how profound the change is. I would say go read those comments. It's going to give you a good idea. Your question is, what is the main?
Yeah, what do I as a writer gain by having this?
First of all, so on the Phantom, you don't have any sensor for the motors. So usually you have Hall sensor. The Hall sensor is going to tell the controller the position of the motor. So if it's like this, it know it. If it's just a bit forward, it know it. So the controller knows at all time the position of the motor, and that's why on the Ghost, for example, it's so smooth, And on the V2 Phantom, you were accelerating the V1, the V2, and it was making the jerking, the ta 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 like this, and it was shaking a lot, and it was creating delays. And as far as I know, everyone thought before we released that controller that you needed to have sensors to be as smooth as the Ghost, for example, or the Pro, or any other models that we have sensors with. It's not the case. When you have a good algorithm running the motors, you can get the same smoothness out of a motor that is sensorless that one with sensors. And that's because, like I explained before, we do the motor detection for every unit. So usually the controller factory, a regular controller factory, they're going to ask the supplier to send the motor in. They're going to configure one PCB, one like a calibration tool to those motors, and they're going to burn the same configuration and all the thousands of controllers that they're going to do based on the first motor they have, but no motors is the same. Every time you have like a little bit, the winding is different, the copper inside, the magnet resistance is different. Every single motor is different. So by doing the calibration for every single motors, that's how we can achieve the smoothness of it. So to answer your question, the first benefit that you're going to see right off the box is how smooth it is. That's a game changer. It feels like new motors, new battery. It feels like a completely different scooter. Just for that, I think it's worth upgrading. The second one is the regen. So we had regen on the V1 and the V2, but it was based on the brake handle switch. So most of I think all suppliers, they have just an on-off switch in the brake handle. When you press a little bit, the regen is going to kick in, and it's really going to decelerate really fast. And so if I press just a centimeter, or if I press 5 centimeters down, it's the same amount of regen that is being applied. The strength of that regen is based on the setting that you set in the display that we call P setting on the Phantom. With the Phantom now, you have a throttle dedicated to this. With the throttle, you have 3 wires, so you can send a gradual signal. So it's just like the accelerator. If you press a little bit, it's going to be slow, weak. If you press all the way down, then you're going to go to a full stop. And that's great because, well, you don't need to use the brakes anymore, so you won't really have to change them. But it's also recharging the battery every time you use it. So there's only benefits to it.
And I'm sure someone in the comments is going to say, oh, you know what, like you're taking the credit for this, but the ES2 has had it for 5 years. So what's the big deal with putting a regen in this controller?
So the ES2 is trash. That's the first thing. It keeps breaking. I know because at first we're selling them at Apollo, and I was the one repairing them. Except the fact that it's trash. But I'm going to give credit to the ES2 because, it was pretty visionary
for
for
its
that.
time. Yeah, exactly.
For its time, it was good. It's a 36-volt scooter. We are the first scooter company to do this with 52 volt and 60 volt. We tried the Phantom 60 volt. Why? Because it's getting too hot, and that's the reason why we are putting it outside. And also the component were not built. Usually on scooters, it's either the battery pack that's going to be the limitation, the motors, or the controller. For the Phantom, we're lucky because the motors were really like heavy duty without the sensors and just like raw force, well built, so it could handle the regen, and the battery pack was also able to handle it. But on the Pro, it's much more the integration that we did is even better with like the smart BMS, and the motors we got are just all over the top. But that's the reason why we are the first one to do it with high voltage scooter.
And it's a bit of a contributing factor as to why so many controllers blew up at the beginning too, right? Because what you mentioned about them not really being able to handle the amount of discharge, especially with the regen. I think it was Kevin who was talking about kind of voltage more broadly during the lunch and learn we had a couple of days ago on batteries, and he sort of compared it to a bit of a rubber band, like it's stretched. Whenever you put pressure on a scooter, you create that rider weight, let's say resistance. Same thing with the braking. You put so much pressure and tension on the controller in this case, that is very easy for it to snap, and that's only ever amplified when you increase the voltage. So manageable within a 36 volt configuration, 48 a little bit less, 452 a little bit less. So the fact that we've actually managed to make it a sustainable way to ride in a 52 volt battery configuration is near impossible. Like you said, nobody else has done it, right? Not even the Segways, the news of this world, which is
and the only way to do it is you need to find a way, because there's more heat being generated when you regen than when you accelerate, even if you go up a hill. So the only way that we're able to do it, it's again because it's sticking out. And the last benefit that I didn't mention about it was the app connectivity, and that's also allowing us to confirm everything I'm saying right now. You're getting access to the app. Again, there's so many videos about our app. Go check them out if you want to see all the features. But most importantly, it's getting me data about all the scooters that are connected to it. So right now, I don't know, I think we have 17,000, something like 15,000 scooters being connected. And we can see the data about the motor temperature, the controller temperature, soon the battery temperature. I can see if anything is wrong. So now we have maybe 350 Phantom V3 that are connected to the, not V3, V2 that were upgraded to V3 with upgrade kit. And I can see the temperature of all those controllers. So I know that it's not overheating. I see the average temperature, the peak of each one. So it's we have the confirmation that this technique is working to cool down the controller.
I was watching you at all times. Yeah. Let's take a little break to answer some questions. So we've got a question about seat options for the Apollo Phantom.
Yeah, no, there won't be a seat. Sorry. It's why there won't be a seat. If you go look at our YouTube video about the Pro seat, it's beautiful, right? It's gorgeous. That's the kind of seat that I want to move forward with, something more special like this. If I am making one for the Phantom, for a lot of reasons, it's going to be a regular bicycle seat with just with a stand pole. I really don't want to do that. If it's not special, we are not doing it. And for the Phantom, that was the last big push I think that we're going to do with the Phantom. And after that, I think we're going to redesign it. So there's going to be no seat for now. All that being said, between us, you can take a 0-10X seat with the clamp system like this, and you can remove both plastic covers on the Phantom on each side, and that's going to create the gap to grab it with the support. So you can have a seat this way, 0-10X or the Apollo Pro, the old one, those kind of seat. Just make sure it's the clamp system that's going to grab the whole frame.
Maybe that's something we can reference in the description section as well if anybody's curious. Okay, a few more questions. So will the Mach 1 controller be installed outside like the Pro or inside the deck? So the answer is right now we've been installing it on the inside, and like Alwar mentioned, we have 350 riders that are using the scooters, and so far we've had 0 issues with overheating. So because the Phantom is it's not a brand new frame design, our options were quite limited in terms of what we could do, and for the time being, we decided to put it inside of the deck of the scooter. But as Alwar mentioned, we've been testing it for 2 years, so we have an extremely high level of confidence in the controller not overheating despite not being exposed to air. The Pro is a different scenario. It's a much more powerful scooter. It's also a scooter that we've had the opportunity to redesign even at the frame level from the ground up. So it just created different opportunities for us. But short answer is we're not planning on putting the V3 controller in a position that sticks out for the time being on the Phantom. ESG early impressions.
What is your recommendation for V3 upgrade kit?
That's the one we just. Oh no, there's
thermal paste base. Yeah, I would put thermal paste, and I know it's not really intuitive, but put it on the side with the fins. That's just a cover. This little side here, all the controllers in this one, and you can see there's some aluminum for the muff set that's going to touch and transfer the heat. So you want to put thermal paste everywhere here, even more like aligned with those lines here. So I guess where the A is, like this, put thermal paste or just put it everywhere and put it directly against the frame like this. That's the way to do it. Here, yeah.
I think that's the Pro, no? So ESG early impressions looks very promising. They mentioned SIM card for IoT. I have a couple of questions regarding IoT. Do you have to pay to use the SIM card? Is there privacy, I guess, like concerns?
Yeah. So I guess yes, you need to pay for the SIM card. It's a data plan like a phone. We're going to be offering like a monthly subscription or one-time subscription. You decide how you want to pay, but yes, you'll need to pay. For the beta group user, no, they're all going to be active, and it's going to be on us at least for the duration of the testing, because we want to see that the IoT is working well. For the privacy, well, it's all encrypted. It's on our own servers as well, that we do the link between you and this specific scooter. So there shouldn't be any concern about that. It's just as secure as the app, for example, where we also track your location.
Cool. Hey guys, any plans to upgrade the Ghost design, features, region breaks?
So the Ghost, we're gonna be releasing an upgrade soon as well for like this, pretty much. You can go check out on the Facebook page. It's all coming from the Facebook page. Or on Reddit, we posted a video about it. That's gonna be the only upgrade coming for the Ghost. If I am to redo something, it's gonna be a redesign, something like the Pro, but smaller. I don't know, or like the Explore that we teased 2 weeks ago, something like this. But no. There is no crazy update for the Ghost except the V3 upgrade kit or V2.
Yeah.
No, V3 upgrade kit at this point. That it's going to be all the same benefit as the Phantom. So I would definitely upgrade for it.
No new Ghost coming anytime soon. So stay tuned for the upgrade kit. Okay. Any plans of having a TFT display on future version upgrades?
Yeah, I tried that. TFT, it's what they use like on bicycle, and you don't see the reflection. It looked like shit, but it's working well. No, I don't think I'm gonna do this. I have a new type of display coming that we're gonna be releasing soon for the newer model, and that's what I'm gonna move towards with. TFT just look too cheap, honestly. So no. Steering dampener for the Phantom, please.
It's been done, eh?
It's been done. It's been done. That's true. Yeah.
I think we can maybe look into recommending an aftermarket option for this.
It's because we need to do our own custom bracket. That's the problem. Like we need to like open the mold to the thing that's going to grab the swing arm at the front. And so if you want to do it correctly, a damper, for those who don't know, a damper is like a hydraulic shock that you link the deck of the body to the direction. So when you go fast, there's no speed wobble. If you want to do it correctly, you pre-drill hole on the swing arm so you can install the dampener correctly, and you have like a firm point of attachment that is made for that. If you want to do it with the Phantom, and now the other companies usually are doing it, you need to remove the grub screw that secure the main bolt in place and use those holes for the dampener. At the end, it's fine because you're gonna put longer screws anyway. But a small mistake there and it's going to be a bad result. The screw's just going to undo itself, and it's going to snap at the direction level. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a difference. Sorry. I know you can do it, and if like there's a lot of people doing custom mode in this group, so I would recommend just using something that already exists and just sell the bracket as CNC, and going to make a ton of money apparently out of it because a lot of people want it. But for now, no. Sorry, I have to choose my battles.
Yeah, I'm sure you were not expecting this level of detail from that answer. Cool. David Vosk, causing problems as always, David. Autographed by Team Apollo. I think I was working on a little something special for you, so stay tuned. Justin, regarding the Pro Beta, last week you mentioned about Wave 2 invites to people in your service partners in which you could provide a list. Has the second wave of invites been sent out, and what are the locations of the service button? So I think we did send out the second email, if I understand correctly. But do you know the list of the cities with the service partners that are included off the top of your head?
No.
No. Okay. Let us get back to you on that one. It's basically anywhere. If you go on our website,
yes, actually, because it's the certified shop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if you go on the website, go on the Book a Repair, which is our new tool. You're gonna see a map with all the certified shop. And it's all those cities that's how you can see if your city is being.
And we've had a few customers reach out and say, maybe I don't live in LA where you guys have a location or a certified repair shop, but I'm really interested. I could drive into town, I could pick it up. If you are one of those people who could maybe not be based out of a city where we have a support infrastructure or support location, but you're willing to make the trip and you're kind of prepared to, in the event that you want to, I don't know, get something tuned up or something replaced, you want to make that trip, feel free to reach out to us at support@apolloscooters.co and just explain, I want to join the beta program. Here's my situation, and I'll get forwarded to the right person, and we'll most likely be able to accommodate. For context, we're looking for a total of over 100 beta testers, and we've gone over this a million times, but just to reiterate, finally, these are production ready units. These are not samples. They are not ready production units. They're extremely final production units. For context, ESG's video that dropped yesterday is a V5 of the I guess prototype. We are delivering the next prototype. So what ESG has been writing has already been, the best scooter they've ever ridden. Not my words, Paul's words. And we're still making a couple of minor improvements before we start delivering it to beta testers. So it truly is market ready as far as the product goes. So long story short, we're still looking for people to join. We're still looking for more information, more data that we can collect through the process. So if you're based out of Montreal, if you're based out of LA, or if you're based out of New York, you can get easily added to our list. You get the Pro at cost, which is really amazing, and it's truly a once in a lifetime deal. Thank you, admin, for posting the list of locations. And then you can also see on that list what are some of the other cities that we support through our servicing partners. So if you're in those cities, you can reach out to us, you can apply and be a part of the beta program as well. Okay, sounds good. I just want to say I bought a Phantom V2 a couple of weeks ago. I absolutely love it. Amazing. We're glad that you like it. And then put thermal pad on top of a pace under. Okay. Cool. Nice FYIs. Sounds good. We have 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left. If there are any other questions, feel free to pop in. Otherwise, we wanted to open it up and see what would you like us to cover in the future sessions. So we have a list of topics that we want to share, to be honest. But if there are any topics that are explicitly requested, or there's something really specific you want to hear about from myself or Eloi or maybe other team members that can give you a better perspective, do let us know now so we can add it to the backlog. Otherwise, Eloi, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Other improvement that we made maybe on the Phantom V3 that's going to be coming out. Now the fenders have 2 brackets, one on each side. So before we saw some case of people receiving the Phantom, and because there was only 1 bracket, so you have the fender on top of the wheel, there was only 1 bracket for the style. I wanted just one. The fenders were a bit crooked, and it was hard to put 2 brackets because of the caliper was in the way. So we redesigned it, and now it's really strong. It's well supported, similar to what you saw in the video of the Pro, for example. It's the same thing front and back. And also the bolt. So we had a couple of cases that after 2, 3, 4,000 kilometers, the bolt of the Phantom was becoming loose for the main direction one. We upgraded it to M14, so M12 to M14, and we changed the grade of the bolt, 12.9 zinc plated now. So crème de la crème, you don't have anything better. So it's going to be stronger, basically. The throttle, obviously, they're also different now. It's the same. It's the rubber one, so it allows us to clean the whole like dashboard of the scooter, because you don't have the switch for, well, at first key ignition, throttle, turning signal, light button. Now it's just 2 throttle, and you can do all the interaction with those 2. And lastly, display. The display, obviously, the new display, the beautiful display. And I believe that I'm forgetting something.
Is kickstand any different?
Kickstand is the same.
The grip tape has been changed for a while.
Yeah, the grip tape has been changed. We changed the battery as well. The battery now it's 1. So before you had 2 discharge port for the battery, and with the kit we are selling an adapter that link it to 1 discharge port like this. Now it's just 1 battery with a gigantic fuse, and that connect right into this. So the quality is also a bit superior now. That's always good, like seeing that. And what is the other thing I'm forgetting?
And like we said in last week's episode, we make minor refinements to every production that passes, right? Like you may not be able to notice it on the outside, but Awad will change a connector on the inside. He'll change the supplier of the brake cable. He will start playing with new battery cell suppliers. So for every single production batch is an iteration and an improvement on a previous design. So we get a lot of questions about, oh, should I wait for the new city to come out? Should I wait for whatever to come out? The reality is, if you buy at any point in time, the gap between the latest version of the 2022 city and the first version of the 2023 city will be relatively minor at the end of the day, because of all these kind of incremental improvements that are happening every time you run a production batch. So keep that in mind, and if you have any specific questions, we're always available to answer.
For the fender bracket, yes, you can buy it. Yeah, you can just install it. I don't know when it's going to be available, but you can install it on the V2 and V1. That's going to work. And yes, we changed the plastic covers, the front one to be a better fit. That's pretty much it for the V3 improvements. It's enough.
Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic scooter. It's dropping next Wednesday at 12 Eastern. We have a limited quantity available in this first batch. So if you want to maximize your chances of securing a unit, you can head on over to our website. You'll see a big banner, the main homepage. Takeover will take you to the Phantom landing page. You can sign up with your email address to be put on the early access list. Everyone on that list will be first in line to get access to the product page when it actually launches. And before it becomes available to the public. So that will be, your best bet at actually securing a unit. Like I said, only a few hundred are available for immediate shipping. So if you've been waiting for the V3, I highly recommend you sign up to the early access lists. Otherwise, we'll see about when we are able to restock the next. Okay, so just before we hop off, I see one last question. Will the Air 2022 get an upgrade? Like I mentioned before, all of our scooters are upgraded every production run. We might rename it the 2023 at some point, but at this time, we're really focusing on incremental updates every production run, as opposed to a major once-a-year push, if that makes sense.
And like the Phantom and every of our models, we all pretty much always make the big improvement available for the years, the previous year. So I wouldn't wait to buy an Air 22. I would buy it and just you upgrade it. It's going to be minimal to if the improvements.
Cool. All right, Elwha, thank you very much. And to everyone who tuned in to follow the conversation, thank you as well. We'll be back next Friday at 1:30 p.m. And we hope to see you there. Thanks, everyone.